The meeting is being recorded. Since the last meeting, there's only one executive session, and that was announced beforehand on the 26th, immediately following the last Commissioners' meeting. We went to sign the tax anticipation note. I'm not aware of any others. Commissioners, any correspondence to bring before the Board of the Public? Hearing none. On the agenda today, we have appointment of Chief Clerk and Solicitor, 2019 millage rate, delivery of tax duplicates, an Act 13 request, ABM financing, and Children and Youth Services agreement. Is there any public comment not related to the items just listed? Please stand and state your name and residence or affiliation.
My name is Connie Zafino, and I live in Pleasant Township, Warren, Pennsylvania. And my public comment is more of a question. On July 23rd, I put in a rate to know. I received your correspondence on July 25th that there would be an extension. It was held in abeyance on November 15th that your attorney, Mark Wassel, was notified that I intended to follow through and wanted the information that I had requested, and as of this time, I've not received that information.
Right. So do either of the Commissioners have anything to say, or the right to know officer? I apologize, but I'm completely unfamiliar with the situation in total.
The Sheriff's Office was involved in that because they were requesting videos.
I can check with Mark Wassel and see about that communication, and follow up with him and follow up with you. I'm not aware of that, that November time frame stuff. So I can check with him and get back to you on it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Any other public comment?
I would like to ask, are you now the right to know officer, or is Pam?
She is.
Pam is the right to know officer, but he is HR.
Well, what I'll do is I'll get back to you, and you can get back to her.
Seems more appropriate to have the right to know officer entirely.
Any other public comment? Mr. Scully.
Commissioner, can you comment on her right to know request to the public? I'm kind of curious that she hasn't received your response within a reasonable amount of time set up by the right to know.
All I can say is that I don't know anything about the right to know request. They usually do not rise to the level of the Commissioners. The right to know officer is the Chief Clerk in this case. Other counties appoint other people sometimes, but the point is to insulate the Commissioners and the other elected officials directly from the right to know system, if you would. Therefore, the Chief Clerk would handle that in tandem with the Solicitor.
The question was, she is requesting videos, so it has to go through the labor attorney and it has to go through the Sheriff's Office.
I understand that. I know how it works. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, I already listed the agenda items for the day. The minutes from December 26th, are there any corrections?
Oh, yes, and I've already given those corrections to Pam if she'd like to read those back. On the last page of the minutes under the personnel report, where Commissioner Morrison stated that she feels as a commissioner she needs to be involved, the word more will be deleted, and also included will be that she is not included in decisions that are being made, and she would like to be more involved in those decisions. Thank you. I listened to the recording, and that is what I said.
Any others? Fiscal report.
You have a fiscal report in front of you for Wednesday, January 9th. General fund is at $2.1 million, and the yearly bank account is just under $200,000. And there is no weekly health care anymore, because that's going to be the monthly set amount as we previously discussed with Benecon. So you won't be seeing that anymore on there as an estimate or actual.
Very good. Any questions for the Fiscal Director? We have one proclamation. That's for School Choice Week. I'll go ahead and read it. Whereas all children in Warren County should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Warren County recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Warren County to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Warren County, and whereas Warren County is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Warren County has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, proclaim the week of January 20th through 26th, 2019 as School Choice Week in Warren County. Any public comment? Or Commissioners' comments? Very good. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda, the minutes, the fiscal report, and this proclamation?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I would like to make a comment. I was lax in getting a proclamation to you in regard to it being today is National Law Enforcement Day. So I would like to mention that and bring to the public's attention that it is that day. Our law enforcement officers of every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their lives on the line every day for their communities, and we thank them for that. They've answered a call to public service that is demanding and oftentimes underappreciated. And today being National Law Enforcement Day, I'd encourage you to make sure you recognize them and thank them for all the work that they do for us in our communities.
Thank you. The only old business, looking at the minutes, was related to a tabled motion for appointment of Mr. Gilbert to the Redevelopment Authority. I assume since it's not on the agenda, we don't have an answer yet.
We do not.
Okay. Moving on, I would move to appoint Pam Maffey as Chief Clerk. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Well, she's already been appointed.
The county code clearly appoint.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I was still in Redevelopment Authority. I apologize. Sorry. Go ahead. Wait. Hold on a second. I want to have a conversation about this. Pam's like, oh God. No.
Motion was made and seconded to appoint Pamela Maffey as Chief Clerk for 2019 for the Warren County Board of Commissioners. Any discussion from the Commissioners?
Just like to say that I'm very happy with the job that Pam's done over the past year and looking forward to working with her in 2019.
Ditto.
All right, ditto. Any public comment? Mr. Scully?
As you well know, I'm here around the courthouse quite a bit. You commissioners, you three of you, do not realize the value of your chief clerk, which I know you do. But without her, I believe you'd have some problems. I always recommend, I know it's a yearly appointment, and I know the county code says you have to appoint them every year. But somehow you have to give security to your people, and I highly recommend that you extend her to 2-year term rather than a 1-year term every year.
I suppose we will defer that to the solicitor for his opinion. Again, as we said last time, the county code pretty clearly states that we cannot do that. But thank you very much for your service, and we look forward to appointing you again in 2020. All those in favor of the motion to appoint Pamela Maffey as Chief Clerk, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda, per county code, is the appointment of the solicitor. Our current solicitor wrote me a note back in early December saying that He was looking to take another opportunity and didn't have the bandwidth in order to serve the county going forward. So we put out an RFP in early December, and we opened the bids at the last commissioners meeting, I believe, on the 26th. The only one that we received was Nathaniel Schmidt. I've had a chance now to meet with Attorney Schmidt at least once in person, and at least talk to him on the phone once. I hope the other commissioners had a chance to get to know him a little bit as well over the last 2 weeks. I would again make a motion to appoint the solicitor as Nathaniel Schmidt and simultaneously adopt the agreement that he sent in his packet.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion from the board. Commissioner Eggleston.
Just like to thank Solicitor Shreve for the work that he's done over the past, I think it's 2 years now, and look forward to working with Attorney Schmidt and look forward to getting started on 2019.
Commissioner Morrison.
I too echo those sentiments for you. Welcome aboard. It will be a refreshing change and one that we've needed. Thank you.
Any public comment? Mr. Scully.
Is Attorney Schmidt, is Attorney Schmidt a Warren County resident, or is he from another county?
I live in the city of Warren.
Okay. No offense, I've never heard of your name, so I just was curious to make sure it was a Warren County attorney. Thank you.
Any other public comment? The motion before us is to appoint Nathaniel Schmidt as the solicitor for the county, as well as adopt the agreement that he sent in his bid package. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the 2019 millage rate. You see before you a form that's filled out. It simply states, we, the undersigned commissioners of Warren County, hereby certify the millage rate levied and assessed for use of said county for the year 2019 is stated below. That would be real estate at 21.5, debt service 0, occupation 0, per capita 0. Could I please have a motion to proceed?
Make a motion to approve the millage rates for 2019 as presented.
Do I hear a second? I will second. Motion is made and seconded. Discussion. Commissioner Eggleston.
I have nothing to say at this time.
Commissioner Morrison.
I have nothing to say.
I would simply sum it up to say that we built the budget based on maintaining the 21.5 millage rate, and I appreciate again all the work that the fiscal office put into the budget. Any public comment? Mrs. Zaffino?
Yes. I've seen numerous comments on social media, and I've read the paper, that represents no tax increase.
Correct.
But my understanding is that a bond is being paid off. And so I'm finding that to be factually inaccurate. If I run my household on $1,500 a month, and I have a car payment of $200 and I pay that off, my budget for my household is now $1,300. If the credit union asks me to continue to pay that $200 because they have become accustomed to getting that money, I would have no obligation to do that. And that appears as what is happening here, is that that millage is just being rolled in rather than saying we've paid that off and now we're back to the other level.
You would maintain your home income at $15,000 regardless of how you spend it, whether you spend it on a car payment, groceries, insurance, or what have you. The bottom
I
line,
said my bills.
right? Okay, so your bills still equal $15,000, or I'm sorry, maybe you said $1,500.
A bill that I was paying every month for $200. My bills would not continue to be $1,500 a month.
So the bottom line, important fact for the taxpayers to know, is that the same dollar figure that they received in their 2018 tax bill will be the same in 2019. So I paid just about $3,500 in property tax in 2018. In 2019, I will pay the exact same dollar figure unless I get my property reassessed. That's the bottom line.
May I speak?
Sure.
So what he's saying is you're going to continue to pay the same amount in your tax bill because the county didn't raise essentially taxes. However, you would have had a tax break with that millage going away. And so now, since you have stated your case, I would like to make comment, and this is what I'd like to say. Years ago, former commissioners financed a courthouse renovation project, taking on debt by issuing bonds through an approved broker. The repayment of the debt covered several years. It included semi-annual interest payments to the bondholders until the date of the bond's maturity. There were several bonds issued, and they matured over several years. The final bond matured in June of 2019. The final dedicated bond debt millage was on the property tax owner's annual bill for the year 2018. So that money would be collected by the county for a timely repayment. I brought to the Commissioner's attention that the required funds were available and the bond was then retired 6 months early, which saved the taxpayers $8,100 in interest on the final payment. That was done in the month of December. Other bonds were called early over the past 2 years, which also allowed the county to avoid some of the scheduled interest. This was due to our formal fiscal director, Judy Aba's recommendation to call them early. The issuing of bonds needs to be approved through DCED. The DCED requires counties to set aside the required millage, called bond debt, in a restricted fund. Once the bond debt is satisfied, the county no longer has the right to continue to collect the dedicated bond debt millage. Therefore, 1 mil of bond debt stated on Warren County property tax bills will become zero on the 2019 tax bill. And I have a copy of my tax bill here where it is definitely labeled as such. Commissioners are required to officially state the property tax millage for the new year in a public meeting, and that is what we're doing today. It should be explained that the county will collect these funds with an increase in the general property tax millage from 20.5 to 21.5 in 2019. Also, the bond debt millage collected over the past several years of 1 mil has officially been retired. And that's the facts in the matter.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This is how it looked last year. It states general millage 20.5 with bond debt 1. This is how it's being stated this year, 21.5 with bond debt 0. You are seeing a tax increase. You are not seeing a tax refund.
I think we're seeing a reallocation of resources, not a tax increase.
Had you not reallocated that, you would have seen a tax break.
I don't appreciate the use of that pronoun because we collectively, as a unanimous board, voted for many things.
And there are many things that I did not vote for.
Not that equals a full tax.
Well, that's your opinion.
Mill of
That
tax
is your
decrease.
opinion. I disagree with you.
Well, luckily we have minutes
That's right,
that
we
we
do.
can go back to
Yes, we
and
do.
find that I am right.
Oh, well, I disagree respectfully.
Commissioner Eggleston, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I wouldn't term what I want to do wanting to say. It's whether I have to say it or not, because trying to respond to this and have it be disseminated amongst the public's tough because you have a newspaper article that's going to be short, so it's difficult for all of the details to be parsed out. And it's not hard, I think, to frame this discussion from the perspective of that there's a tax increase or that everybody should get their money back, or like from those terms. I think it's very easy to frame it that way, and I can understand how Commissioner Morrison might do that. Certainly to have people appreciate her perspective on it. So, first of all, to go back to Ms. Safino's question related to her bills. I've had car payments that I paid off. I've had cars that I totaled and then didn't have a car payment. And I've reallocated those payments to other things, whether it was my savings or whether it was other payments that I had to make. That's what's happening here. With this chart that Commissioner Morrison has held up, she would make you think that all of these lines are fixed. that this is a sheet every year that has to be exactly the same and it has to look like this. It does not. There could be 50 lines on this. We could break out the millage so that every single item in a budget is on, that there's a dedicated millage to it. We've talked about allocating the library's funding as a line item on this millage chart, and we could do that. The funds that were being used for debt service was for maintenance on this building and upgrades. There are costs to the county. There are other costs to the county that need to be taken care of, and that's what that millage is going to be used for. Now, according to Commissioner Morrison, we could have had a tax cut. She keeps using the term we could have. If Commissioner Kafferlin and I would just buckle down and get serious, we could have had a tax cut. Now, I'm going to just question a couple of things that Commissioner Morrison has stated previously because, and I know half of this isn't going to end up in getting disseminated because it's too much, because there's a lot of detail. I apologize for that. I've never once had a written proposal on anything related to a tax cut from Commissioner Morrison. I'm assuming that's because it would require actual work on her part, which she refuses to do. She talks about being more involved in what's going on here. I welcome that. I would love to see that because, frankly, what all of you are doing and the taxpayers are doing is paying her roughly $500 an hour to come here to these public meetings and share what she's sharing with you now. You're paying about $500 an hour. If you parse out 2 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, and divide that by $57,000, that's what you get. And that's what you're paying for. Never once, not one proposal, not one. Now, I'm going to go by the article that she had, that was in the newspaper about our budget vote, because that's the only written statement that I've ever had on what Commissioner Morrison's proposing. And I'm going to go down these items, and I'm going to tell you why your taxes aren't getting cut and why she's not going to cut them. Okay? So first of all, Commissioner Morrison proposed cutting the capital budget lines. Okay? There are no capital budget lines. All of our capital budget expenses went into ABM.
Right, and that's what I would cut.
That after you voted for it.
No, I didn't vote for it.
Okay, so, but my point is that there are no capital budget lines because none of the accumulated cost is in this budget. There are no capital budget lines to cut. Even if you stopped ABM, that wouldn't cut anything out of this budget. Okay, second, eliminating contingency, which creates the ability to overspend. Okay, the contingency is entirely the Erie bank account. There are no tax dollars, and if there are, it's maybe $20,000 that are actually contingency funds. There is no contingency fund. It's the Erie bank account. We allocated it so that we could spend it. You have to budget it if you're going to allocate it.
There are $186,000 in contingency.
Yeah, and it's all the Erie bank account. It's not tax dollars. You would have known that if you had
cannot
worked on the
list that.
budget.
You cannot list that as funds in your budget.
Absolutely,
You
you
can
can.
as a
In fact,
transfer
in order to
payment.
spend it, we should allocate it in the budget. If we had a general fund that we had built up, we would have that allocated in the budget. We'd have to allocate
And I
general fund
totally
dollars.
disagree with the Erie Bank funds being used in that manner.
Either
And
way-
In early 2000, we had
Commissioner Morrison-
$700,000 in that
I-
account.
I-
We
Commissioner
have
Eggleston
nothing
still has
right
the
now.
floor.
I was allowed to listen to your statement. You can rebut mine later, okay? Eliminating contingency, you can't, even if you eliminated it, it would not result in a cut to tax dollars, okay? That's a fact. Eliminate the use of the Erie Bank funds to balance shortfalls. That's not being done. This is a zero budget. It's balanced. There are no Erie Bank funds that are accommodating a shortfall. Eliminate the hiring of a marketing director. That's $50,000. Okay, so that's your $50,000 start. And just to keep in mind, 1 mil of taxes is $490,000. So we've got $50,000 and $490,000. Move to eliminate overtime in the county offices. Okay, so I went back just because we've had multiple conversations about overtime. The total overtime budget in 2019 is $173,000. Okay, it's been cut every single year we've been in office. We have pushed, cajoled, worked with all the elected officials to cut overtime in every single budget that we have put together. If Commissioner Morrison would like to cut overtime, we are on board. We are ready to cut overtime. She would probably need to schedule a meeting with the judge. and with the sheriff's department in order to do that. And she's going to have to negotiate with them in order to get that number down. We would back any initiative that she put together to cut overtime by scheduling meetings with those 2 elected officials. But I'm going to assume, since they go over budget on overtime every year, that guess what? You're only going to cut so much off of that $170,000. So let's say hypothetically you cut $50,000. Okay, so with my position and with that $50,000, you got $100,000. Way to go. It's never going to end up lining up, but you're not even to a quarter, you're to maybe a fifth of what you actually need to cut. And that leaves nothing else. That's it. So the other $400,000 is going to have to come from somewhere. Now, in her final statement, she talked about this Board of Commissioners, along with the Salary Board, has provided lavish wage hikes to several select employees. I've been the only one to vote no on many of these individual pay raises. Now, she didn't state what any of those are, okay, because she voted for most of them.
No, that's not true.
So voted for all 3 union contracts.
Yes.
She voted for the non-union salary increases. She voted for the assistant public defender to have their pay raised, the assistant DA to have their pay raised. And my question is what didn't you vote for?
Many.
Which ones?
Well, I have the recordings, and I'm trying to find a way to get those recordings online.
Yep.
Because I believe that we should be putting the recordings from these meetings online, so the taxpayers can hear for themselves how the votes are going down.
The recordings, with the exception of the past month, are online for everybody to
Salary board
see.
meetings have not been recorded.
Salary
for quite
boards have
some
been
time
recorded,
now.
and in fact, when I first started putting the recordings online, you told me that we should only put the public meetings online.
Okay,
They
So
are public
finish
meetings.
your
So,
thoughts.
and then her final statement during that was that bad decisions have led to this. Okay? This is a serious business when dealing with tax dollars. I can understand how Commissioner Morrison is very concerned with how the taxpayers feel about this budget and about how things are done here. I would assume that's because they're paying her $500 an hour, but it's because this is a serious business. This affects people in a serious way. Somebody needs to do the work in order to put this together and keep this machine running. There are 2 commissioners here who are willing to do that. There is one who is not, and is more interested in trying to mislead people into thinking that the other 2 commissioners are bad people. It needs to stop. We are more than willing to work on cost-cutting measures. I need a written proposal, which I've asked for multiple times and never gotten once. Not one written proposal ever. If Commissioner Morrison is so committed to cutting taxes, she needs to put a written proposal together, which she could easily work on with the fiscal director. We would never prevent her from doing that, and we have never prevented her from doing that. If she puts a written proposal together, we will reopen the budget and we will vote on it. I'd be more than happy to do that. And that's all I'll say about it.
In
Commissioner
regard
Morrison?
to this piece of paper, and Commissioner Eggleston stating that you could list numerous things on here, let me reiterate. This was a bond debt. This was not funds coming out of our general funds to pay for the library and our external entities. This is bond debt, very different than what you're stating, Commissioner Eggleston. And I have not only expressed several different line items that I would cut that really do not have tentacles, as Commissioner Eggleston stated at one of the last meetings, that really involved so much thought process behind it. What I am recommending are cuts that could be easily made. Decisions that have been made from ABM do not address some of the more critical items that need addressed on our building. I'm just so disinterested in having a contract with ABM and the amount of money that it's going to cost the taxpayers. I have sat down with Eric. I have emailed repeatedly some of the changes that I'd like to see. For me to write a written statement, I think that I have expressed at several meetings the things that I would like to see cut. And I'm not taken seriously. And that's the bottom line. You can say all you want that I'm here to disparage you. I am not. I have not called either one of you a liar in regard to this, but I do know for a fact in writing that Commissioner Cafferlin has called me out as being a liar, and it's in writing. So what I say instead is that they're not lying, they're just wrong. And it's here in black and white, and you can choose to see it this way, or you can choose to see it their way. I'm not calling them out and telling them they're bad people, as Commissioner Eggleston would have you believe I'm doing. I'm not. This is how I think, believe, and feel. And you don't have to agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me.
Very good. Are the commissioners settled on how they want to vote on this matter?
I just have two very quick statements. The first one is Commissioner Morrison has stated that she has not insulted us.
Does this have to do with the vote?
No.
Very good.
I'd just like to say that in order to maintain decorum in this office and at these public meetings, I would ask that anyone who's discussing them to refrain from referring to us as either failures or that the decisions that we've made are bad decisions. I think that you can disagree with them. I don't mind that you disagree with them, but I personally feel insulted when we come to these meetings and I'm called a failure repeatedly.
I've never done that.
Repeatedly.
I've never done that.
You have stated that the commissioners have failed, that we are failures.
We have failed the taxpayers by giving them a tax increase. That is what I stated.
Yep.
Let's not twist my words
Yep.
or my meaning.
I would consider that a disparaging remark.
All right, very good. Anything else that pertains to the vote on the millage rate? Public comment, Mr. Scully had the floor first.
I'd like to address the Board of Commissioners to the fact, Commissioner Morrison, if you go to Warren County YouTube, you will see the salary board meetings, the work session meetings, and the commissioners' meetings.
It's not true, Mr. Scully, not for a long time.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Morrison, but you know I check on you guys, and I check it all the time. And I have watched by dates the work session, the salary board meetings, and the commissioners' meetings. And maybe one thing we should do, maybe we should put a time clock in here so we can know that you're in the office.
I don't need to be in the courthouse to be
Because I
working.
have come myself personally, and I have never seen you in here. You go to work sessions by the telephone.
Yep,
You're
sometimes
not
I do.
always there. So quit cutting down the two commissioners
I'm
that
not.
are making one hell of, excuse my language,
Please.
one
Point
heck
of order.
Yeah, point of order. Please do not swear.
Point of order.
I apologize. But those two commissioners, Mr. Eggleston and Mr. Kaplan, are here all the time, and I've stated more than once, in previous boards, most of them were here. I've been over here on other business from my township, and you are not in your office. And you keep saying if they want to talk to me,
I do not
they
say
can
that.
call me at my residence.
I don't
Your
say that.
residence is your residence. This is your place of business, which you were voted in as a commissioner to be in this courthouse on a daily basis, not a weekly basis or 2 hours a week. You are not in your office more than 20 hours a month.
Mr. Scully, I would like to respectfully disagree with you.
You may.
I work every day at this job. You may not see me in my office, but I am working every
What
day.
about the senior citizens that don't
Mr.
have computers,
Scully.
don't like to talk to you on the phone? They want to talk to you.
The senior
in person.
citizens
You're
are
not
actually the
here
ones
to
that
face
call
it.
me on the phone, Mr. Scully. And I will respectfully disagree with you. And, you know, there are many times that I am in this building that neither one of my fellow commissioners are here as well.
Okay, thank you. Other public comment, Mrs. Zaffino.
With the bond debt, that is how we got to 21.5, correct?
Yes,
And that bond is being retired.
yes.
Okay, so to maintain at 21.5, without that bond debt income, how is that happening?
It's being reallocated to the general real estate line item.
Okay, so instead of having that money come from a bond, that money is in fact going to come from the taxpayers.
The money does not come from the bond.
We take a loan out, which is in essence a bond.
Okay, a
The-
bond alone.
The only
You
reason...
pay 21.5 on your tax bill. It's 21.5 last year. It'll be 21.5 this year. The difference will be one line instead of two.
I understand that. What I'm asking is, where did that additional bill come from? It came from a loan, correct?
No.
The one mill is separated out by law. And the reason it's separated out is that's how you set a bond up. Like, in order to do the financing through the state, you have to separate it out. That's it. There are other debts that we have that pay on multiple years that are just a part of the general fund ledger. And so when they disappear, we reallocate those resources to other debts that we have and other expenses that we have within the fund.
Okay, but when you have this bond that you're putting to bed, you're paying it off, it's whether you call it a loan or a bond or free money from the government, it is something that is now paid off. You had a debt, you paid it off.
So we had a bond debt, now we have lease debt,
Okay,
among other debts.
where does that money come from now?
So the law does not mandate that leases be a separate line item. So as a consequence, those debts end up just being paid through normal real estate millage rate, rather than having to set up a separate line item for bond. Bond, lease, debt, it's all basically the same thing. The government just specifies, I suppose the DCD specifies that it has to be specifically spelled out if it's bond. But to the Warren County taxpayer, the difference is virtually nil. It is still a debt that the county has to pay.
So two more things. One is the bond is tax dollars. It's no different than the general fund dollars. Those are tax dollars from the taxpayers, goes into an account and then pays the bond debt. The second thing is this isn't the first time this has happened. The bond was refinanced about, 6 or 8 years ago, and it was reduced from $1.5 million to $1 million. That $0.5 million was reallocated to the general fund. And then I think it was coupled with either a minor tax increase on the, I can't remember the exact details, but it was reallocated to the general fund when it went from $1.5 million to $1 million. So this isn't like precedent setting or anything like that. And the third thing I wanted to say is what Commissioner Morrison has referred to, or I think alluded to, is what happens a lot of times when you have one-time expenses. There's a provision where hypothetically, like with election systems, one of the things that's been pitched to me at CCAP and by different commissioners is if we were, for instance, buy the election systems all at once, that's roughly $300,000 to $400,000. We could allocate $1 million of taxes, raise taxes one time $1 million, with the promise that when that $1 million is done, it will be removed from the tax bills for a one-time expense related to the election systems. From my understanding with this setup, there was no promise made that once the bond debt was gone, that it would be relinquished and there would be some kind of tax decrease.
So you're saying that
When do we have to be out of here?
that mill.
Pardon me?
We'll see the same tax bill, and that is a result of keeping that mill in play.
Yes.
Even though the bond is paid off.
Yes.
We need to be out of here in about 15 minutes, so...
I would like to respond to one more
Please
item
be brief.
from Mr. Scully. He states that the salary board videos are online. Commissioner Eggleston has not been recording the salary board meetings since September. So,
Okay, this is
So that's just-
off...
I'm not going to discuss if they are on
It's off topic. Thank you. Anything else regarding the millage rate from the commissioners? Any new information from the public related to the millage rate? The motion before us is to set the 2019 millage rate at 21.5 mils. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise.
aye.
Motion carries 2-1. Next, Resolution 3128, postponement of delivery of tax duplicates. This is something we pass every year so that we can send out the tax duplicates for the school district and the county simultaneously. Would one of you please make a motion to approve it?
I move to approve Resolution 3128, postponement of delivery of tax duplicates.
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Public comment. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Likewise. Motion carries. Resolution 3129 is also before us. This is approval of a grant request for Act 13 dollars from Sugar Grove Township to replace the Jones Hill Road Bridge. You'll see the application on the next page. The Planning and Zoning Office has referred this to us for approval. This would more or less drain the account. The total is $43,821.90. This is the same fund that over the last couple of years, I believe Glade Township has tapped twice. I think Broken Straw and Pittsfield have each tapped once. And this is within range of what the normal amount is that the county gives. As a reminder, this Act 13 fund is only for bridge replacement. This is the only eligible use, and I believe it's the only application that's currently before us. Again, it would drain the account. We would get the next installment of approximately the same amount, say $50,000 in summer of 2019. I hear a motion to approve Resolution 3129.
I move to approve Resolution 3129, using Act 13 funds for Sugar Grove Township bridge replacement on Jones Hill Road.
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Public comment. $43,821.90. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the resolution for Sugar Grove Township's bridge replacements, please state aye.
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 Motion carries. Next on the agenda is approval of ABM funding source. This, in my opinion, really does not need a vote because the resolution that we passed with the ABM agreement did not say that they would be sending the funding proposal back to us. The resolution very clearly stated that the ABM would be soliciting bids for financing, and then we authorized the chief clerk with our assent to sign off on it. That said, ABM has gone above and beyond the necessary requirements and has presented us with two. They did approach 7 different banks to finance the improvements to our building, and Huntington Bank is, I believe, one of the proposals, but it ended up being higher than my proposal, which is First Internet Public Finance Corporation. Since it's on the agenda, I would ask for a motion to approve this. This would be at a rate of 3.68, I believe. 6.3, thank you. Sorry, I was going off memory. Which is actually significantly better than we anticipated and significantly better than Huntington. The other banks that they did approach, such as Northwest and First Niagara, no, I'm sorry, who bought First Niagara? KeyBank. Either were not able to complete an application or otherwise declined. So I believe this is our best option. Again, I don't think that this really needed to be voted on, but I would still ask for a motion to accept the First Internet Public Finance Corporation bid.
I'll make a motion to accept the First Internet Public Finance Corp bid as presented.
I'll second. Discussion from the board. Commissioner Eggleston.
So after going through all of these, I feel like this is a good deal, certainly in the short term. This doesn't prevent us from refinancing or finding other options that if we were to find something that would be cheaper. Again, it's important to note that a huge chunk of this is essentially being paid by the energy savings that we will see through the project that's going to be conducted this year and next year. So although we're financing $3.7 million, 1.5 of it, 1.7, that's what I thought. Yeah. 1.7 of it will be paid for through the savings that we will see on the energy end. So actually, the cost to the taxpayers over 15 years will be roughly $2 million, and that will be once you parse that out over the 15 years, it's what it would cost us to do each of these maintenance projects every year for the next 15 years. So I think it's a very revenue neutral program, and I'm very excited to see it take off.
Commissioner Morrison?
I have no comment.
All right. The motion before us is to accept the First Internet Public Finance Corporation bid, and that was again for 3.63%. I was going to give this under under commissioner comments, but I did want to note that yesterday when we had that little rainstorm, Eric and I and Matt went up into the attic and found multiple new leaks that we were not aware of. As a reminder, there is leaking going on right above our heads in this very room that is not getting fixed, even through this ABM proposal. It's something we need to take seriously because there's active rot and such going on in this very room because we have not dealt with the slate roof. The only roof I believe that we're replacing in the ABM proposal is the 1925 edition out the back, which is in even worse shape. So we still have a long ways to go, and although the ABM proposal I view as nothing short of necessary for the facilities, yes, you can actually see it now. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. That is where the leak is, one of them. It's nothing short of necessary. This building is decaying around us because the previous boards did not deal with the problem, and I would encourage the commissioners, perhaps it's probably still wet up there, why don't you go up there after this meeting and see all the various areas that are leaking and the decay and rot that is happening as a consequence. All right, the motion again for us is the First Internet Public Finance Corp. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-1. Next is approval of a CYS agreement. Children and Youth Services, when they have to do drug screening, send the samples to a toxicology lab. It's called Redwood. We have not, I don't believe, had an agreement with them in the past, but Meredith Ketchum found that that was an error, and we have this agreement before us to remedy that. I believe actually we use Redwood for other departments in the county as well, so we would like to pass this one for CYS, but I believe we will also need to do take a look at some of the other offices that use Redwood and other toxicology labs in order to make sure that we have an agreement in place to use Redwood. Could I please have a motion to approve the service agreement with Redwood Toxicology Laboratory?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Public comment? All those in favor of the motion, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Commissioner comments? Oh, excuse me. Personnel transaction report. New hires for Warren County. Austin Schwenke, effective the 10th of this month in the Sheriff's Office as a part-time deputy, rate of $16.74. And Cale Asp, effective the 14th as Deputy Director of Public Safety at an annual rate of $48,000. There are no other changes. Separations include Christopher Strem, effective the 21st of December. I'm sorry, the dates on this are clearly not correct. 2018, I would assume.
Yes.
And that was a law clerk in the courts. And then Phyllis Wolf, retired from the MDJ office in Youngsville, I would assume January 4th of 2019. May I please have a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, now, Commissioner comments. And we have about 6 minutes. Hearing none, any final public comments? Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 12:50.